I'm Zara Lawler, and before we get started, I want to thank you for being part of this exciting undertaking and joining us as a member of the Migranti. The soloists surround the audience in a circle, while the Migranti create a moving soundscape that moves diagonally through the audience. You will need to learn several sound effects and be prepared to play them over and over again as you travel the Migranti path through the audience. We will be using two types of sound effects, covered and breathy. This video will teach you the covered sound effects, and breathy sound effects will be taught in a separate video. We will be using 3 covered sounds. These are sounds that you make by blowing directly into the embouchure hole, covering the lip plate with your mouth. It is tempting to do this by rolling your head forward over the flute. But just as you learned to bring the instrument to you when you were a beginning flutist, the same applies here. Roll the flute towards you. And you're ready to go. The first covered sound uses just the head joint and is a simple inhale and exhale. We'll be doing this over and over again, and at the beginning of the piece we'll be doing it slowly, and at the end quickly. So practice 2 different tempos. Slowly, and when you're doing it slowly, you can give yourself about a beat of rest in between your inhale and your exhale so that you don't hyperventilate. Then, of course, at the end, we'll be doing it much faster. And if you like, you can alternate inhale, exhale, and exhale, inhale. That's it. The next covered sound is a covered flutter. This is a cool roaring effect, and we're always after a low register that starts forte and then diminuendos. If you know how to flutter, this is quite a simple technique. You just finger a low note, roll in, and flutter. If you have never flutter-tongued before and are not sure how to get started, please see the supplementary video, How to Do a Covered Flutter Tongue. The third and final of our covered sounds is called a tongue stop. Some people call it a tongue ram, and this is what it sounds like. It's a really cool sound. And I prefer to call it a tongue stop because what you're doing is basically the opposite of normal flute articulation. Normally on the flute we start with our tongue and then end by blowing. But in a tongue stop we do the opposite. You blow and end by stopping the air with your tongue. In the performance, we will be using 2 different combinations of tongue stops. One is just isolated low tongue stops. Any low note you want, by itself. And the second version would be repeated low tongue stops. So again, you pick any note that you want, but this time you play it over and over and over again. Here, especially in the repeated tongue stops, it's important not to use too much air or you'll find yourself tripping over your own tongue. A few general notes about practicing these covered sounds. 1, please make sure that you practice doing them over and over again for a long time. As you can imagine, we'll be walking all the way through the audience making these sounds, so make sure that you can play tongue rams over and over and over again for a long time. 2, since we will be walking through the audience, practice all of these sounds while walking. There's no music for you to read, so you'll be able to walk and play at the same time. And 3, by the end of your covered sound effect practice session, you will note that there is a lot of condensation, even spit, in your flute, so make sure you swab out. And a final word about practicing the head joint inhales and exhales. Make sure that you spend part of your time practicing it, playing the head joint while holding the body of the flute, like so.